Today is August 31st, and we're here for our encore presentation of Unlocking the Secrets and Benefits of Saving in Silver and Gold. Now, this past Thursday evening, we had a in-person presentation at the Galena Public Library. I want to give a big thank you to the Galena Public Library for hosting the event. The turnout was amazing, and I really wanted to, because I had such a good response from the people in attendance, I wanted to share the exact same presentation with everybody here, for everybody to see, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Rumble or you're part of my Work Smarter, Fewer Silver and Gold Solutions email list. I wanted to make sure that you were able to have access to this information, because I did share a lot of great information. This is something that will open your perspective on saving in the form of silver and gold, but then also share tips and pointers with you on what drives the cost of gold and silver and what to consider as you're deciding to take the action and start saving in the form of precious metals. Now, this is something that I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint here, because this is the exact same presentation that I shared, and I want to make sure that everybody has access to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into two parts, because I don't want people to get get too much information at one time where you don't digest it all, or take into consideration, because I know a lot of times when people see a long video, they don't want to watch, they want to sit there and watch it the whole time. So I'm going to do is I'm going to share part one on YouTube and probably Rumble tomorrow on Sunday, September 1st. And then I'll share part two on Labor Day. Sometime I'll post that on Labor Day itself here in the United States, which is Monday, September 2nd. So you'll have it in two parts. This way you'll have both, the information from the entire presentation. You'll be able to save it and watch it and share it with, your family and friends and, your coworkers, people that, you care about, because this is definitely some information that everybody should have. And it was an informational presentation. I did share quite a few things in that presentation. That's why I'm going to split it up into two parts here. But this was a general overview of what I shared. Okay, we have the history of precious metals, and then the differences and benefits of saving silver and gold as tangible assets, meaning physical silver or actual, physical gold, and what everyone should know before they buy gold or silver. And I do some specific examples. And I want to focus on this and make sure that when you watch this video, you do watch the part of the presentation of when I do examples between 5 different companies that sell silver and gold. Okay, and there are different things that you need to watch out for and look out for, because a lot of places claim that they have the very best price, and when you actually dive down into it deeper and actually try to place the order, there's all these hidden costs, and before you know it, they do not have the best price. So I wanted to share that with everybody. So there are some specific examples, and I will also those were done in real time. I did those on August 28th. I took the numbers based on gold and silver and did some transactions to try and see what the actual price was. So it's a very good eye-opening examples that I share there. And then also I share with how to benefit from gold without actually buying gold. And then also, ways that, and this will be probably in part two of the video presentation, if you have a couple dollars, put it in gold or silver, how you can go about doing it, okay? So I'm really excited to share this with everybody. And so what I want to do is I'm going to jump right into it here and try and go as quickly as I can. So this informational presentation is for anyone that understands the importance of saving in silver and gold, but they're not sure how to go about doing it. Okay, it's for those that are looking for other options to save and control how much and how often they save. And then also it's for those who, someone who might not have the option of a 401k at their job or an alternate savings plan. Now, this is something that initially when I started sharing this with my business, what I wanted to do was offer this as an idea or an option for smaller business owners who have, employees, dedicated employees that they care about, but they're not in the position to offer a 401k or some type of employee savings plan. So this is another option. That's why I initially incorporated this into my Work Smarter for You business. And it's also for those who, have children or grandkids or something that they're, that they want to go to college, but this is a way for you to start saving for their future, for their college, in the form of silver and gold or precious metals. And then also for those who just want to, start putting away a little nice nest egg, to grow over the course of time. And it's also for, in part two of the video, I'm going to share what a way for people to make an additional income with it if they so choose. And then also it's just pretty much for anyone who just wants to share and teach their children about the importance of precious metals, because this is something, unless your grandparents or your parents didn't share it with you, a lot of times people don't know how to go about saving in the form of silver and gold. So because they're not sure why they should or how to go about doing it, they get confused. And so basically what do they do? They do not take any action. And so they keep going with whatever has been done by your generational family. So this was something that this was something that was shared with me in December of 2020. And it was actually a month to the day that my dad passed that someone shared a company with me, which I will talk about later in the part 2 of the video, that actually gave me the option to save for my family, my future, and also my grandkids' future, in the form of precious metals. So it was really kind of strange because my dad was trying to share information with me about how he went about doing things before he passed. But unfortunately, he didn't quite get to the point of, giving me all the ins and outs. So that's why when this happened to me, when it was shared with me, it was a sign. It was something that I wish would have been shared with me back when I graduated high school, because things would be a lot different now. But anyway, so what I want to do here is we're going to start with, 5 reasons for sound money. Now, sound money is just another terminology used for precious metals or silver and gold specifically. This is something that, this is with, typically there's 5 reasons why people save or invest in silver and gold. One is a hedge against poor government decisions and potential economic collapse. And right now, on a global sense, globally, the economy pretty much stinks flat out. Well, just put it realistic. And here in the United States, things have not been very good at all here as far as the cost of inflation, everything, how it's impacted everybody. Okay, so this is one of the main reasons is to hedge against the poor government decisions and potential economic collapse. Other reasons are wealth accumulation, where you want to start, accumulating wealth, whether you can do it incrementally or if you're able to do more at a certain time. This is one of the reasons. And then wealth protection. So if you already have, a certain amount of money in savings, or like right now, a lot of the people that I listen to and follow and get information from, and I will share those people with you a little bit here in the presentation. A lot of them are saying, just having your money sitting in the bank is not a good idea, because with the cost of inflation and the cost of living going up constantly, that money that's sitting there is actually losing its value. Okay, and that'll be shared here in the presentation as well as why that's happening. And then also another good reason is for portfolio diversification. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, and having a certain percentage in silver and gold or precious metals is actually a very wise decision. And if you have a financial advisor, by all means, I want you to consult with them first before you make any decisions. But what my purpose here is to share information with you to give you more ideas of why it's important. But one thing too, I do want to point out is if your financial advisor is not recommending that you at least have, like, say, 8% in precious metals, then I would recommend finding another financial advisor, because what I'm going to share with you, gold has outperformed every other asset in this century. So this is something that if they're not recommending this, then they're not looking out for your best interest. Okay. And then of course, then the 5th reason is coin collecting, because there is a value in saving in the form of collectible coins. Now, one for it's a great showpieces and whatever you can share with people, but also the value of how those go up depending on their rarity and what types of coins they are. So we're going to go over that in the presentation as well too. Okay, so those are the 5 reasons for sound money. And when I started the presentation, I'm going to cover the price histories of gold, silver, and copper. Now, during the presentation, at the live presentation, I gave away over $200 worth of silver and copper to the attendees, and we had some surprise drawings. So, like for the drawings for this, I do have a monthly drawing, and this month's drawing for August, which I'm going to extend the deadline to September 6th, and I'll have the details below the video. But it's going to be for a 1 ounce Indian head buffalo silver dollar. Okay. So, but so I just want to share with everybody, they do have the opportunity to win that as well. Okay. And I'll have the details below the video here as well. So I wanted to start with gold because right now this is something that gold is hitting all-time highs, and it's something that's really exciting. A lot of people feel that they've missed the opportunity to save in the form of gold or silver. But in this case here with gold, there's still time because if you've watched what's been happening, okay, with the price of gold, if there's reasons for it, and especially right now with it being an election year here in the United States, between the election year, you have more central banks buying gold, and then you also have just pretty much the economic turmoil across the globe. This is gold has always been a safe haven and its value as a storehouse for actual currency, because it is one of the true currencies, has always been there. Okay, gold has been around since like I always shared in other presentations. What did one of the wise men bring to infant Jesus? He brought him gold, because gold even back then had its significance. Okay, so it's always been seen as having its value. So when fiat currencies or paper money go up and down, which typically they're going down, I shouldn't say up because it's been a while since Nixon took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard back in the 1970s. The value of the U.S. dollar has rapidly decreased. Okay, and basically on a global standpoint, everybody barters or actually purchases stuff, every country does in US dollars. And I'll be sharing a little bit more about that as to what's happening and how that impacts, the price of gold. But what I wanted to share with here, okay, so when I did this presentation, this was as of Thursday, the close of August. This is actually Thursday, August 29th at midnight. Okay. But when the markets closed on Wednesday evening, okay, it closed at 2507.85. Okay, and you're looking at here the high was, the number one high for gold was 25.66. And if you go back to the low of it, okay, this is over a 30-year range. The lowest price of gold was 252.57 an ounce. Now, what's interesting about this is, as you see here, we're going back to the last 30 years, so back to 1994. So if you see what happens if everybody would have had the foresight to save in gold back in 2000, you would really be making a killing right now. But that's the one thing I wanted to share, is that gold and silver are things that you would save in or purchase for a long-term investment. And right now, nowadays, between what's happening in the crypto world and then all, the people that have made a lot of money with, stocks like Apple or Tesla, people are expecting gigantic gains right away, or, quick returns on their investment. But the thing is, with gold and silver, it's something that it's for the long term. It's not for any short-term gain. Although with what's happened with gold here since the fall of last year till now, if you basically could have increased your money by 30% just in that short period of time. Okay, and that was, if you go back to some of my previous videos last year, I was, when gold was around 1800, fluctuating between 1800 and 1900, I had told people then, from what I'm hearing and with the research that I've been doing and getting from other people, is that gold was going to be hitting $2,400 soon. Of course, then it did. And I even had somebody earlier in the year when gold was at around $1,900 an ounce. This gentleman made the comment to me, so I think I missed out because gold's already at its highest. I don't think it's a good time to buy. And I still shared the information with them, but lo and behold, gold has taken off. Okay, so anyways, what I want to share with this in this chart here is, one of the people I do listen to is Mike Maloney from goldsilver.com. Okay, he does have his own company. He does have a lot of videos that he shares a lot of insight on, whether it's gold, silver, oil, real estate. He does cover a lot of things. So it's not just gold and silver is what he shares with people. But one thing that I've learned from him is he's always talking about this cup and handle type scenario. So where if you look over the course of the graph here, you've got these little dips and everything where it's going, this is like a cup forming, like right here, and there's the handle. So when the handle actually hits, you have a big one here, You have the big cup here, and here's the handle, and here's another huge cup, and we're going from end of 2012 up to 2021. That signifies that something's going to happen because gold and silver are always going to go up and down. There's a direct correlation between the two. But in this case here with this cup, basically when it hits this handle stage where it reaches a high and then kind of goes up and down for a little bit, as you see here and also here, that's usually a signal that gold is going to take off. And there's usually certain economic circumstances that cause that. But in this case here, he always says to look, when he's looking at the chart, and you can actually notice it too on the silver chart. We'll share that in a moment too. That's a good sign when you have this cup, because sometimes the cup will be real deep, and then other times when it hits this breaking point here and then forms that handle, so to speak, that's when things are going to start taking off. And as you see here, after it created the handle, it did start taking off. Okay, so I wanted to share it with everybody because when you take a larger overview, a 10,000 foot view of what's happening instead of just a month by month by month, and I'll show you a chart of that here in a little bit as well. But when you take an overview of everything, it really does give you an eye-opening perspective of the value of gold over the course of time. Okay, so if you're looking for like a quick fix or something like this, we're talking physical, tangible gold, actual something you can touch in your hand, not like ETFs are doing things with trading in that. But in this case here with physical gold and silver, if you have some, or if you're looking to save or purchase some, this is something to keep in mind, okay? So what I have here is, this is silver. And on this chart here, you're going to see the same things where you'll see different spikes, but here's like a mini cup, and then kind of like the handle here, and then it spikes up, and then here's the cup again, and here's the handle. So you can kind of see that throughout. And this big one here, this is in direct correlation to what I was showing with you on the gold chart. Okay, so it's something to keep in mind. And I'm going to share here in a few minutes with gold and silver why silver might be the better source of saving or investing in. Now they're both good, okay, don't get me wrong, but I'll share some pointers here in a minute too. But there is a direct correlation between gold and silver. Okay, so as you can see here, where a lot of people are wondering, why hasn't gold spiked up to hitting that $50 an ounce that a lot of experts are talking about? Well, because there's such a demand for it. Like with silver, you have all the everyday uses where, silver is in pretty much a lot of things that are electronic. Solar panels, new electric cars use quite a bit of silver. And actually, one thing I didn't point out is that even in certain types of military missiles, okay, there's quite a bit of silver that's actually used in the warheads of the missile, or the heads of the missile. Okay, so this is something that to kind of keep in mind when from a military standpoint, there's a demand for silver as well. So there's you have the electrical portion of it, like I mentioned, like the electric cars, and then solar panels, and then even your everyday electronics has silver in them too. But there's also the military aspect too. So there's reasons for probably kind of the markets being held at bay, so to speak, which a lot of times there's so many factors in everything when it comes to precious metals, but those are kind of a few to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at silver. Okay. And so I do want to cover copper, because even though people don't always talk about copper, because it doesn't have as high of a value per ounce. Like in this case here, copper is typically priced per pound, okay, where silver and gold are by ounce. Okay, so in this case here, I did want to show this because copper is another precious metal that does have its value. Okay, it's just not, like I said, it's just not as glamorous as silver and gold, but it is something too that if you do have some where it's pure copper, and that's one of the things that I was giving away at the presentation was some copper rounds, okay, some 1 ounce pure copper rounds, okay. And so it's something that, is something to consider. And even if you just do a little bit at a time, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to cost you that much at a time. And it's something that will add up if you keep adding to it. Okay, in this case here, we're going, this is the history of copper. Okay, pretty much. Okay, so we're going from the 1960s up to current. Okay, and actually I looked up the information, and the lowest price for copper in history was in July of 1959 when it was 0.276 cents a pound. So just a little over a quarter. And the highest was this year in May, when it actually hit $5 and a little over 10 cents a pound. Okay. So you might not think that that's that much, but if you say if you had 1,000 pounds of gold or copper, that would be a nice chunk or a nice gain. Okay. In this case here, like right now, as of August 28th, it was at $4.14 a pound. So even though it's not something that people like to think about or don't usually look at, but copper is like silver. It has so many everyday uses. Every single electrical appliance that you have, has copper in it. Okay. As far as the cord and everything. So there's something that, almost everything that we use has copper to a degree in it. Okay. So I just wanted to share that as well, because so people have a nice overview of all three precious metals. So this is what I wanted. I touched upon this briefly earlier. Okay, so gold has outshined stocks in the 21st century compared to the S&P 500. Now, this is something when I mentioned about your financial advisor not recommending gold. This is why it's important to try or to have some. Okay, now this is if you go back from 2000 to currently, gold has outperformed the S&P 500, every stock. You might have an exception with Apple and Tesla. Those are two of the ones that really have done well. And some of the other AI stocks have had some really huge gains. But when you go, not all of them were around in 2000. Okay, so when you're looking at from 2000 to current, today's August 31st, gold has still outperformed the stocks. Okay, so this is something a lot of people with 401ks and that you have stocks and everything is based, is earned through the stocks and how you have it split up in your 401k plan, or else people just flat out go out and buy stocks. Okay, so but when you look at it, gold has done well, but a lot better than the stocks have done. Okay, so this is something, and this was an article. This was an article that I found from March of this year, and gold has outperformed the S&P 500 in the 21st century. Dow Jones Commodity Index, the DJCI, tracks the gold market using the futures index. Dating back to the turn of the century, the DJCI has produced a 7.8% annualized return, according to S&P Dow Jones. That compares to a 7% return for the S&P 500 over the same period. So you might not, that you have 0.8% difference, but when you look at it overall, like I shared with you in the chart, it does show you the difference between the two, the gold, which is the top, and the S&P 500, which is the bottom. Okay, so that's something to kind of keep in mind too. So if you're, I'm not sure if you're doing trading or something that's a different perspective on things. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin wasn't around in 2000. Okay, so Bitcoin is an anomaly, so to speak. And we're talking, stocks versus physical gold and silver. Okay. So I wanted to share that with everybody with two. So you get like here again, you're talking a 24-year period, but it does show you how gold has, like going back to those gold charts and silver charts, it does show you over the course of time how well gold has done, okay, or precious metals. So what I'm going to share here is why, okay, the reasons for gold increases. There's tons of reason, but typically, what I'm going to focus on and cover here is what's kind of driving things right now over the last the last year or so, or last couple of years, and why we've seen, gold starting to really take off. Okay, so like right now, there's been, the central banks have increased their purchases. Now, this is something that I'm not trying to, I'm trying to give an objective view on this here, but there's a reason for the central banks making these increased purchases. Okay, and I'm going to be covering that here. And then there's also the volatility of the U.S. dollar, the weaponization of the U.S. dollar. We're in an election here in the United States, and of course the BRICS nations. If you have not heard about the BRICS nations, I highly encourage you to look that up or Google it or search for it. And then also one of the people that I listen to, in addition to Mike Maloney, is Robert Kiyosaki. He has some people don't like his harsh demeanor, but he's like Mike Maloney and Robert Kiyosaki, they're millionaires. Okay, they don't need to. They're not trying to sway anybody into doing anything. When they share their videos, they're just giving the perspective on what they're seeing, whether it's gold, silver, oil, real estate, whatever. They're giving their perspective, but both of them have talked about the BRICS nations, and this is something that not everybody sees on the everyday news because, frankly, if you don't know it, the news is censored. The governments dictate what they want people to hear, and because this is all stuff that people would be concerned about, they're not talking about this on the news. Okay, so the BRICS nation is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and also now Saudi Arabia is part of the BRICS nations, where you have, and there's an additional, I believe there's close to 56 or 60 countries right now that are applying to be part of the BRICS nations. And what's kind of elevated the BRICS nations is, so the BRICS nation is going to have a currency, and they were talking about having it, the Chinese yuan, I believe is what it was, have it backed by gold, which is something because of what happened back in the 70s when, everything was based on the US dollar, and the US dollar was backed by gold. Well, as soon as that stopped happening when Nixon took us off the gold standard, basically fiat money, paper money was exactly what the government dictated its value as. Okay, and there's been a lot of countries that have had problems and had to go through some remonetization, so to speak. But with the BRICS nations, all these countries are trying to get away from having to transact in US dollars. And what's kind of elevated that, I shouldn't say kind of, what has elevated that happening is when the United States put sanctions on Russia for starting the war with Ukraine. Okay, now, so what happened when that took place, where we literally, with the SWIFT system, where we actually froze it so Russia couldn't use the SWIFT system to make transactions. Other countries are like, wait a minute, if what happens if we see the United States doing this to Russia? So what happens if we do something that the United States doesn't approve of? Are they going to do the same thing to us? So it was like a huge red flag for all these Eastern countries, and it's like they decided that's where the BRICS nations, having a type of currency backed by gold, is attractive to them. And Saudi Arabia has already agreed to allow other countries purchase oil with a new type of currency. Okay, so this is something that it all has not been finalized yet. Nobody really knows when it's going to take place or what all countries are involved in it. But one of the key ones, like I said, it was Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And you have Russia and China having their alliance now because of this currency. And of course, then what's happened with China's never really cared too much for the United States anyways. But, like I said, I'm trying to keep this unbiased. Okay. But that is one of the big things that's driving the prices of gold, because all the central banks across the globe are buying more and more gold. And why is that? Because, we have the decline in the value of the US dollar. And at some point, which is what, Mike Maloney has been talking about this for years, and it will happen at some point, there will be a remonetization system globally. And with what's happening with the BRICS nations in this gold-backed currency is going to drive a lot of that, as far as the remonetization of the world. So kind of keep that in mind. So I'm going to show you a chart here. This was one, I did have another one, but I apologize, I couldn't find it. Here's a look at the 10 largest official buyers of gold from the end of 1999 to the end of 2021. Okay, so you look in the top 10 here. Now these are official buyers, okay? You don't see the United States. Who you see is Russia and China. The two top countries are Russia and China. And then Turkey was another big one. Now there's a little post of an article that I'm going to share here in a moment. But then India was fourth. And so you see what's happening here, but you see these are amount of gold bought in tons and what percentage of it is. But out of the top 10, the United States is not there, which is kind of discerning. Okay, so Turkey experienced 86% year-over-year inflation as of October 2022, was the largest buyer, adding 148 tons to its reserves. So this was through 2021, but in 2022, Turkey was one of the countries that bought the most. China continued its gold buying spree with 62 tons added in the months of November and December amid rising geopolitical tensions with the United States. Okay, so here we go again. It's not East versus West or anything like that, but in this case here, a lot of this stems from the sanctions we put on Russia. Okay, so it did make an impact across the globe, not just with Russia, but it made an impact on how other countries view the United States. Okay, so in here, according to analysts, unreported gold purchases are likely to have come from countries like China and Russia, who are looking to de-dollarize global trade to circumvent Western sanctions. Okay, so this is something that just to keep in mind. Okay, so if you're, this is one of the key factors in what's driving some of the prices of gold. Okay, so I wanted to share it with everybody because it is very important information. And so why do central banks buy gold? Gold plays an important role in the financial reserves of numerous nations. Here are three of the reasons why central bank holds gold. The balanced foreign exchange reserves. Central banks have long held gold as part of their reserves to manage a risk from currency holdings and promote stability during economic turmoil. And like right now, like I said, globally, everybody's economy is in a little bit of turmoil to some degree. Hedge against fiat currencies. Gold offers a hedge against the eroding purchase power of currencies, mainly the US dollar due to inflation, and then also as a diversification of portfolios. Gold has an inverse correlation with the US dollar. When the dollar falls in value, gold prices tend to rise, protecting central banks from volatility. So if all the central banks are buying gold, and I'm sharing with you some of the reasons why they're doing it. There are more reasons, but I'm sharing with you some. Just kind of keep that in mind as far as when you're looking at gold or silver. And what I'm going to share with you next about the direct correlation between the two. Keep that in mind as far as what you decide to save for in the future. Okay. And what I do want to do, I'll just point this out real quick. I'll put a link below the video here. This is for an ebook that you can download. And if you want me to mail you out a copy, you'll have to send me an email at rick@silverandgoldsolutions.org. And I can actually mail you a copy out in the mail and get it out to you free of cost. It shows you 5 different types of buyers and why, what type of gold or silver you might want to save in. This is some research on things that I've put together, over the last couple of years. And it's something that will give you like another bird's eye view of what you might consider when you're saving for the future in your family. Okay. So I just kind of want to point that out because, taking the presentation, taking into consideration everything that I'm sharing, and then make your best decision. Okay, you can. I always encourage people to do their due diligence and do their research. I'm just sharing with you ideas and tips and ways to save for your future. Okay, is it gospel? No. Is it stuff to consideration? Yet to consider? Yes. Okay. So here's the central banks carrying gold buying momentum into 2024. So when you saw that chart with for 2020, when I showed you the one for the purchases of gold from 1999 to 2021, you can see where things were at here. But this is for the first quarter of 2022 and 2023. Between the Ukraine-Russian war, you see what's been happening here, how more and more gold is being bought. Now, this chart only starts the beginning at quarter 1 for 2024, but you even see here for quarter 1, it's still the highest going back for the last 14 years. Okay, so just kind of keep this in mind like this. So to kind of back up with what I was sharing with you about the different countries saving or purchasing gold, this is a direct correlation to what I was sharing. Okay, and what I'll try and do on the video, below the video, I'll try and add the links to where I got this information to if you do want to check it out yourself.